And a warm welcome to today's launch broadcast. It is the 26th of August, and my name is Martin Wayland. I'm a ground support systems engineer and principal launch integrator for Ecliptic Space. I'll be joining us all here today for our webcast of the second flight of our rocket for you today. Now, it's an early morning over here at Adderpole Space Center, but so far, everything's looking good. Range is looking clear, weather is looking clear, and our rocket is looking beautiful as ever. And we're glad you could all join us today. Today's test flight is going to reach a lot of important milestones, hopefully, and demonstrate our new version 2 rocket, both in our first stage and our upper stage. A lot of major changes that we've done to get us here to the pad, and we can't wait to walk through them all with you today. To recap what happened on our first flight test, that I'm sure many of you remember, we have a bit of a presentation for you all. Our first flight of Maiden V1 lifted off from Adderpole Launch Center and met a few issues along the way. The ascent started off pretty well. We saw all of our engines ignite on liftoff, and our ascent burn was conducted nominally. We reached stage separation and saw the second stage separate from our booster. That was also performed nominally, and our hot stage ring was jettisoned as planned. Our booster on return to Earth unfortunately suffered some higher aerodynamic forces than we'd expected. This resulted in the separation of one of our grid fins from the main body of our spacecraft. To compensate for that, we've upgraded the aero brakes on our new version 2 booster and strengthened those attachment points. In addition, on our ship coast phase, our cargo bay doors saw a bit of a failure as we attempted to close it. Because of that, we've completely redesigned the cargo bay door on our V2 vehicle, and we will be testing that out in flight today. Here's a bit of a recap video that we can see on everything I've talked about. It'll detail a little bit about the changes that we've made, and it'll show you some highlights from our last launch. Easy. Easy. All right. Now, on our next flight, this one coming up, we should be lifting off in just about 2 to 3 minutes here. We're aiming to avoid those events that we call at Ecliptic Space UCLs, which is short for an unanticipated component liberation, which is precisely what you saw with the grid fin on our first flight and the cargo bay door as well. As you can see, the booster and ship on your pad looks markedly different from our first flight. We've got a brand new paint scheme, new heat shield tile components, and a brand new ship design featuring an aerospike engine. That's right, with that stage 2 engine, our second stage of our rocket should be able to efficiently and effectively power flight at all levels of atmosphere. Now, we heard 2 callouts earlier that our fuel top-off is complete for both booster and ship. Our vehicle's now on internal power, which means that it's now running on its own clock under its own influence. Coming up soon, we should get our final clearance holds for liftoff, and if we pass through that hold period, then you'll see the rocket take off into the air powered by those powerful engines down at the bottom. Our propulsion team has done some work to modify the turbo pumps on those engines, and we've squeezed out just a little more performance out of them. I'm sure we'll see that.
LDs go for launch.
I'm sure we'll see that performance on flight. And some great news, our launch director just gave us the clearance for flight. Running the flight team, Joseph Hemsworth over there is going to make sure that our booster is looking good to go. And right now,
T-minus 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, ignition.
Ignition sequence start.
We have liftoff. Vehicle has left the pad.
All engines are normal.
We are in our ascent phase. Vehicle has left the pad. The tower is clear. It's looking like we have only one engine out on our booster. All other systems continuing to look good on our powered flight. Coming up, you'll see our rocket starting to commit to the pitch over maneuver. That's where we gain horizontal velocity, so we put our second stage into a suborbital trajectory for today.
Vehicle trajectory is on target.
I'm hearing in the back channels, it looks like that one engine loss isn't going to affect our performance for ascent. We're still go for our stage separation and the remainder of our mission, so everything else continuing to look nominal.
Max Q.
And our rockets just passed through max Q. That's the highest point of dynamic pressure that we'll see on ascent. As the atmosphere thins out, our increasing speed isn't going to be as much of a problem anymore, and the forces acting on our rocket should diminish. Coming up soon, we'll come up on stage separation. You'll see the booster's engines shut down in a staggered sequence. After that, the second stage will ignite its aerospike and perform a hot staging maneuver to push itself away from our booster.
Booster engine cut off.
Stage separation.
Upper stage engine ignition confirmed.
And we're seeing a healthy stage 2 aerospike ignition. Vehicle looking good. Our booster has cut off. Our booster's cut off its engines, and it looks like that hot staging ring is clearly separated away right now.
Upper stage will now continue its way into the correct trajectory.
And perfect. We're hearing our upper stage continuing on its own propulsion into a nominal trajectory. Our first stage is now reorienting itself for a glide into Earth's atmosphere. Today, our first stage will be performing a braking burn in a departure from our first flight. Since those aerodynamic loads were a little more than we expected, after the peak point of entry, we will be committing to a braking burn to slow our speed. After that braking burn's done, we'll then be executing a landing burn, targeting a soft splashdown in the Atlantic Ocean. And you can follow Booster on the left side of your screen, ship on the right-hand side of the screen, continuing to look good. Those engines are going to keep firing for another couple minutes, hopefully putting it into a solid suborbital trajectory. Should be seeing entry heating on Booster any moment now. Oh yeah, and there you go. You can see the boosters
Burn
entered the
initiated.
atmosphere. Braking burn started up. It looks like we've got 2 out of the 3 engines started. One of them might have suffered some issues. But what we're hearing, it continues to look good. We're still on our descent. That's a clean cutoff on the
Booster
braking
landing
burn.
burn startup.
Coming up next, like you heard, our landing burn any moment now. Booster should now be hovering just over the ocean. And a splashdown of our booster in the Atlantic Ocean as intended. What a sight, wow. Looks like our booster has successfully splashed down in the Atlantic, just like we'd hoped. Up next should be our ship engine cut off any time now. And it looks like our ship engine has cut off. That aerospike has stopped producing thrust. Seeing a bit of venting on the ship, that's perfectly fine. That's just the way it should be. It looks like we might have a good orbit. We'll wait on confirmation before we confirm it, but it's looking pretty good. And I'm hearing in the back channels, it looks like we do have a good orbit insertion of our ship. Now, ship's going to travel a little longer than it did on our first flight today. Going to go a little farther. We're going to be trying out a shallower entry profile, and we'll be executing, hopefully in a minute or two, a test of our new cargo bay door. Now, online, we've got nothing on board. We've got nothing crazy. A simple mass demonstrator to try and emulate the mass on payload that this rocket can take to orbit. Coming up, we should be able to see that payload bay door open and that cargo get jettisoned. Again, it's a block of concrete. It's got no mass on it. The only thing that it helps us with is giving us more data for our second stage. For everyone just joining, we had a beautiful on-time liftoff of our second rocket, full stack from Atterpole Space Center. Booster performed its descent stage near flawlessly. Clean stage separation. Booster entered, performed its braking and landing burns, and splashed down in the ocean. Ship is in a nominal orbit insertion trajectory. We're tracking it now. It looks like no issues.
Cargo bay door opening.
And we just saw there the cargo bay door successfully opened.
Test payload separation confirmed.
And we've got a separation of that test payload. You can see it on screen, just ever so gently floating away from our spacecraft. Again, it's not a satellite, it's not a spacecraft, it's a tube of concrete that we've put in our rocket to simulate the amount of payload it can take to orbit. This particular block payload is representative of the maximum tonnage that we can take to orbit, so we're really trying to push the envelope here with our upper stage. Coming up next, we should be able to see that door close in a bit. But
Cargo bay
that should
doors
be in
closing.
some time. And we should be seeing it soon. Beautiful. And that is a flawless closing of our cargo bay door. No UCLs for us today. Everything continuing to look good. We're going to be in our coast phase for a number of minutes, so I'll hop off comms and make sure everything's looking good behind the scenes for you guys. I'll be back right about before the start of entry, and that's when commentary will resume. In the meantime, enjoy the views. And welcome back to continuing live coverage of our ongoing second flight. Our ship is nearing the beginning of our entry interface. We're not quite there yet, but you should be able to see it hitting the atmosphere by the telltale plasma. And by plasma, that's just simply the orange that you'll see on the outside of the vehicle.
Upper stage is now experiencing the re-entry phase of the flight.
And there we go. You can see, and you can see the plasma live on your screen, building on the heat shield side of our upper stage. Now, our upper stage is entirely built to handle the crushing forces of entry.
Descending is stable.
Beautiful, hearing it's stable. As we descend downwards through the atmosphere, we hit thicker and thicker air. As that happens, the friction continues to build against our rocket and normally would melt clean through the materials. However, you'll see the black part of the rocket on your screen is the wind-facing side. We call that the windward side. That black part is covered in heat tiles and heat-sensitive material that is designed
Max
to
heat.
absorb. Beautiful. We heard right here we're reaching the max heat point of the flight. That heat shield is meant to withstand this maximum heat and prevent it from destroying our upper stage. If all goes well, it should completely negate any heat that might reach the fuel tanks or the structure of the spacecraft and will keep it stable and in one piece throughout entry. Now, we're not targeting a powered landing for today's flight. Hopefully, if we reach the end of the entry interface, we should see the ship just falling down on its own, and it will impact the surface of the ocean without a propulsive landing attempt. But it's looking like our heat shield's holding up just fine. It's looking like everything's looking good. Seeing no burn throughs. Our internal cameras are looking spotless. Continuing on entry. And we're starting to see some daylight creeping through now. Given that our upper stage has made its way through a good number of the atmosphere's thickness and diameter of the Earth, we've actually been able to re-enter this upper stage on the daylight side of the planet. We're seeing venting, but that's not abnormal. That's perfectly expected. We're checking. Looking good. Yeah, no, we just had our controllers check something, and it looks like what we thought might have been a burn through. It isn't. In fact, one of our cameras had frozen some moments ago, but it's just confirming that everything's looking good to go right now. Looks like we are, in fact, coming out of peak heating intact.
Subsonic speed reached.
We heard the call out there. We've reached subsonic speeds. We're reaching the thicker parts of the atmosphere, and that should significantly slow our ship down. Once again, we're going to transition to our belly first part of the flight regime, where we will be splashing down hard on the ocean. Again, there's no propulsive landing attempt for today.
Landing burn started.
The ship's looking a bit charred, but that's A-okay. And it looks like we had impact with the ocean there at the end. Now that brings to an end today's flight. We had a beautiful liftoff and ascent, only minimal issues through the opening phase of flight. We had a great staging, a great separation. Booster splashed down on target, a little harder than we'd hoped, but still performed that braking burn wonderfully. Ship continued its coast phase, validated that new cargo bay door, looks great, put out a dummy payload in space, and conducted our first successful re-entry. We saw that hard splashdown at the end. In the future, we'll hopefully bring ship and booster back to the launch site so they can be fully reused and bring down the cost of reliable launch. That's all that we've got for you today. We're glad all of you could join us. I'm Martin Wayland. I've been your broadcast commentator for today. Thank you all for coming together for our flight, and we hope to see you for our next launch.
you.